Yeah. Yo, what's up, everybody? Sorry for the quiet music. A little bit different setup. I'm actually back home, no longer in Pittsburgh, so no weather updates from me in Pittsburgh. But back home now. Hopefully, connection stays all right. Kind of in the boondocks here. But another day of riding solo. Another day of baseball to talk about. Full game slate of Sunday baseball. A lot of day games. One Sunday night baseball game to get to. Just your average notes for every Sunday. Keep in mind managers using their backup catchers on day games after night games. A bunch of guys just maybe getting days off. They don't have the platoon advantage. And as always, as is customary on Sundays, a lot of top arms going today. So we will get to all those, talk about all of that. If for any reason at any time my connection just gets really bad, somebody in the chat let me know. I am hardwired, but out here, I live on a dirt road. Actually, I know that's confusing for a lot of people, but connection isn't too great. So I'm plugged in directly to the modem. Hopefully everything stays okay. As of now, and as of my test earlier this morning, everything was going pretty smoothly. So hopefully everybody had a good week of DFS action. Hopefully today ends up being a good day. Hopefully you guys had a good night last night. I know the A's, once again, not surprising, put up a bunch of runs, but kind of disappointing was that Donaldson, who has like a 534 ISO against lefties right now, didn't do much. I know he was, one of my top guys yesterday, and another guy that people will probably be looking at today maybe as we get into these matchups. So just first notes before I get into anything, before I start breaking down through the games. There is just one game with some weather concerns today, and that's the same game that's kind of been on the radar for most of the weekend. It's in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals and Giants game. Again, some isolated thunderstorms probably going to be there throughout the game. Looks like the chances of it aren't that great. Actually, it looks like now, as I refresh my page here, those thunderstorms have actually pushed back to after the game. So maybe we won't even have to worry about that at all there. That's certainly good for, if we're thinking about taking anybody from those games. If you weren't anyway, I guess that's really of no concern to you at all. But anyway, I did want to mention that for you guys. And hopefully everything's okay. Hopefully connection's fine. If anybody in the chat could just give me a heads up as like a, hey, you're okay, that'd be great. It's before I get too far into this thing and realize that nobody's actually able to see anything or that I'm too laggy. But anyway, I guess I will start us off here. The first matchup of the day actually isn't one of those matchups with a top arm per se. It's Jolly Chassin and Josh Tomlin at Progressive Field. This is a game that actually saw quite a few runs yesterday. I guess not this exact game, but between these two teams, actually put up some runs yesterday. Some home runs hit there at Progressive Field. Typically not a place where I really strongly target a lot of hitters. I guess it depends on the matchup. Today feels like kind of one of those plug-and-play type days, especially from this game. For instance, looking at the lines for the totals here, guys, this game has an 8.5 over/under, which is actually one of the higher ones on the day. So maybe Vegas has some better thoughts on this game than I do. But anyway, with Jolly Chassin and Josh Tomlin on the bump, I know Tomlin's actually been not too bad, which is kind of surprising because he's not a guy that I really look to use, more of a guy I probably play against. And today, where you got Morneau, Dickerson's in that lineup, Blackman at the top, Cargo against him. All those guys with the platoon advantage are guys that I would really like maybe to use against him. But keep in mind, when you're playing Rockies guys, they come with that price tag as if they were playing at Coors Field, even though they're not there today. On the other end of things, I thought it was going to be really interesting to see when Jason Kipnis got back, kind of where he would be fitting in that order. Because that 3 spot in the order was his, and Brantley kind of slid in there and was just excellent. But actually, Kipnis is back now, and he's hitting 4 today, right behind Brantley. Lonnie Chisenhall behind him. I think all those guys are kind of in play as really nice value guys. Kipnis obviously has a ton of upside, stolen bases, home run potential, and he's a second baseman. So a spot that's actually kind of difficult to roster on certain days. Maybe with Kipnis back, we can start to fill that void a little bit easier. The guy I really like here, value-wise, is Lonnie Chisenhall. He's been swinging it okay. His price is really down across the sites, and normally, I don't really look to play a guy like Chisenhall because he's around that 8-9 spot in the order. But today, up to the 5, that's really where value starts to trend into like a really good play. So if you can find Chisenhall at a spot where he's playing first base today, but I'm sure he's probably third base eligible, maybe even outfield on some different sites. If you can find him in those spots, I think you should definitely take some chances on rostering him in that plug and play type thing where you can pay up for guys in better spots or pay up for some pitchers that we're definitely gonna have to get to. But I'll back off that game just because. I don't really think, despite the 9 over-under, outside of the guys I kind of mentioned, the Brantley, the Kipnis, the Chisenhall, and then on the other side, those lefties with the platoon advantage against Tomlin, there's just really not a whole lot here. This doesn't feel like a stackable game top to bottom for a team for me. But then again, I guess either one of these teams really has a chance to break out with the type of arms that are on the table today. Sorry for that. Next game on my list is Twins and Yankees at Yankee Stadium. A day yesterday where we saw Tanaka absolutely thrive against the Twins lineup, kind of as everybody expected, especially if you're playing the early-only slate. Tanaka was owned by, like, every player ever, and rightfully so. He should have been. If you didn't roster Tanaka yesterday, shame on you. That's a poor move. I guess in GPPs, I guess it wasn't really that bad to maybe take a chance on not rostering him, but in cash games, he should have probably been 100% owned. But today, it's a little bit different. It's going to be Phil Hughes back in Yankee Stadium against the young righty Chase Whitley. Man, this is tough. I know Yankee Stadium's a great place to hit. I like a lot of the Yankees' left-handed bats, but Phil Hughes has actually been really good. And, it's an interesting storyline to see him come back to Yankee Stadium. He was kind of supposed to be that next Yankee arm, and it just didn't really pan out there for him. I guess the change of scenery has done him quite well in Minnesota. Obviously he's he's pitching in a pitcher's park now at Target Field. But back in Yankee Stadium today, notorious for being a hitter's park. Man, I still just really can't get on board using Phil Hughes, especially with his strikeout numbers not being where I need them to be. And, there are a ton of guys on the list today that I feel like you can use as starting pitcher. In this game, though, should you not really like Hughes? Should you be a guy that kind of wants to try to pick on Hughes, especially in this game going back to the Bronx? Gardner, Ellsbury, McCann, Solarte's been awesome. Those guys would be at the top of my list for the Yankees. And on the other end of it, against Chase Whitley, I like Mauer. It's just really difficult to roster him with no power potential. I like Dozier at the top of that, where he's middle infield eligible. Kubal's in that lineup. Arcia's been really good. He's in the 4 spot today, and Willingham's back. There's all guys you could maybe consider. My favorites would be kind of Dozier just because of his position, not because he doesn't have the platoon advantage or anything. And Arcia and Kubal would be my other 2 favorites from that lineup that I think you can get at a relatively nice price and kind of plug them in. Let me pull up the over-under on this one. The totals here. Just real quick, 8.5. Another one of these games where I guess they're projecting some nice scoring. So keep your eye on that. Looks like the Yankees lineup is pretty much what it always is. I do want to mention that Solarte is up to the 5 hole after 3 hits yesterday, so that's nice. His price is still real low across the sites, and he's actually been real good this year. Moving on to the next game, man, the Royals and the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have just been, they're the Blue Jays at home. I can't really put my finger on why they're so good at home. I know the Rogers Center is a great place to hit, but these guys are just absolutely incredible at home. Like, it's unreal. Juan Francisco was awesome yesterday. Adam Lind was awesome yesterday, and I fully expect those guys to be great plays again today. Those are my favorite 2 Blue Jays today. Let me see if this lineup is out. It is. Francisco's hitting 6 behind Edwin. Lind is actually up to the 4 spot in front of Edwin, behind Joey Bats. I like both those guys a lot today. I guess Lind a little bit more than Francisco, but I think Francisco's actually cheaper than Lind in some spots. But both players I think you need to be able to find in your lineup somewhere against Jeremy Guthrie, who's just really not a guy that worries me at all. Excuse me. On the other end of it, Mark Burley is he's just kind of puzzling as a DFS option. Not a guy that I really ever want to roster DFS wise, but at this point, the way he's pitching, it's really difficult to try to roster anybody against him. I know, like when you see the name Mark Burley, when you kind of see what he does on the mound, he doesn't frighten you as a pitcher when you're trying to pick on him, I guess. But there's just not a whole lot there that I want to pick on. Infante in the 2 spot, okay. Billy Butler, never for me. Salvador Perez, I guess he hits lefties much better. Down in that 6 spot at catcher, he is in the lineup today. It's just, man, I really do like the hitting environment there today, but, the Royals have not been a team that have been swinging the bats with a whole lot of power, which is something we look for. I guess this, from the Royals side of things, is kind of a plug-and-play type option. The Blue Jays, I think, are a team that you'll see commonly stacked. Basically top to bottom. That 1 through 6 there for the Blue Jays looked like really tasty plays on every side of it. It is the month of June now, so I guess we'll have to see how Edwin Encarnacion reacts to the calendar change. But 16 home runs in May is absolutely incredible. I know he's seeing the ball a little bit better now. Actually, a whole lot better than he did in April. So definitely a guy that you need to kind of have on your radar. And this game is a game that I feel like there's going to be runs scored. More so on the Blue Jays side of things. Their team total is 4.5 right now. Over under of 9 in this game. So definitely target some of those bats. You would be foolish to not have any exposure to them at all and throughout your lineups. On to another game, Aaron Harang and Nathan Eovaldi at Marlins Park in Miami there. Harang, who was awesome to start the year, kind of had hit his first roadblock against this Marlin team in Miami. While I can't really predict like a 12-run outburst like they did against him that time. The Marlins are much better at home offensively. And their lineup really isn't too bad, and Harang hasn't been that driving force he was in his first 4 or 5 starts. The guys there from that team that I really like are obviously Giancarlo Stanton, who's pretty much in play against everybody. Yelich, I love Yelich, always loved Yelich. Actually, sorry, I don't have anything pulled up here to show you on Yelich. Sorry about that, guys. There's a dog here actually. I don't have anything here pulled up to show you Yelich, but he's been great. I guess numbers-wise doesn't look too great, but he's been great for my eye this season. Derek Dietrich in the 2-hole at second base, another guy that I think I really like. Had a good day yesterday. Is obviously in play with a platoon advantage against Harang, and I like Garrett Jones down in that 5 spot. Gets to hit behind McGee and Stanton, and a guy that kind of maybe isn't on too many people's radars, but gets to fit in there quite nicely today. On the other end of it, the Braves against Eovaldi. I really like what Eovaldi brings to the table, but I'm not sure that he'll be on many of my rosters today, especially when you consider that Darvish, Greinke, all these guys are on the bump today. It's just really kind of hard to get on board with some of these guys. I think Eovaldi becomes a good GPP option because of that. And he throws real hard, definite strikeout potential there. But if you want to pick on Eovaldi, Tommy La Stella is up for them. He had a couple hits yesterday, his first RBIs and stuff. He's hitting 7 at second base for the Braves. Hayward in the 1 spot. Freddie Freeman hitting 3. Justin Upton's actually not in the lineup today. Domit is getting a chance to play, hitting in the 5-hole. He's a switch hitter. Not a guy that I'd really be on. But I guess if you really need to find some value, is a guy that you could look at. Other than that, not too much on this game. There will be more interesting games to talk about, especially as I get to some of these games where I can mention some of the pitchers, I guess, a little more in depth. Like maybe the next one, the Mets and the Phillies. The Mets lineup is actually not out yet. I know it's John Neese on the bump today against Cole Hamels, who typically in his career has not been too good against the Mets. But in his last start out against them, it was, a start or two off the DL for him. He got roughed up in the first inning, came back, went 8 innings through 130 pitches, had 10 strikeouts against them. Was absolutely fantastic. I can't, say the same for him today. I do like him as an option because the Mets lineup is so atrocious, and Hamels is he's at home there. But there are better options in my opinion. But I think Hamels definitely has to be on your radar, especially with the strikeouts that he's been putting up this season. Needs to be in your lineups for some GPPs for sure. Because that Mets lineup is not a very good lineup. But I do want to caution you because of the Mets' success against him in his career. It might just be a mind thing for Cole Hamels. On the other end of it, I really like that Marlon Byrd's in the 3-hole against John Neese today. I know he's got good numbers against him in his career, and Bird's kind of one of those guys that flies under the radar, not super flashy. He's kind of one of those older veteran guys that you just forget about, especially in Philly's lineup that's kind of aging and declining. I do like Bird a lot today. Ruiz is hitting 4, and John Mayberry, another guy hitting 6 that has some pop. And at Citizens Bank Park, definitely a guy that maybe you should consider for that one. If you're at DraftKings or something, you're stacking a whole team. Say you're stacking the Blue Jays or something, and you need an outfielder. You need an outfielder to plug in. John Mayberry happens to be the right price. That's the type of play he is for me today. A GPP type guy that you plug in with the rest of a lineup, and he definitely has some home run potential, and he gets the platoon advantage against Neese today, hitting 6th in that order behind Howard. So that's a guy you could maybe consider. I know it's getting kind of cute when you mention a guy like John Mayberry Jr., but somebody that you should definitely think about. The next game, 135 star at Fenway Park. The Red Sox have been fantastic after that 10-game skid. They won, I think, 6 in a row now. I know I was on here the other night talking with Furious, who is a Red Sox fan, and I saw on Twitter some banter back and forth between Bell and Furious about Brock Holt, who hit a home run last night. That was pretty incredible. Good for that guy. First career home run. That was pretty exciting. Holt is actually playing first base today. Really small guy playing first today, leading off again against Eric Bedard. Bedard's kind of been puzzling this season. This was a guy who at one point was really, really good. Then he got traded around, hasn't been nearly as good since, had some injury problems. And, this is a little off topic, but what a steal the Orioles got trading Bedard to Seattle for Adam Jones. What a steal. Anyway, Eric Bedard, not a guy that I'm looking to target today, but a guy I'm looking to target against. The Red Sox lineup is out. Bogarts, I love. I'm starting to love him even more every day he plays. This is a kid that has been highly thought of for a while now, and early in the beginning of the season wasn't doing a whole lot. He was a guy that we played typically against lefties, but now he's becoming a guy that you can play in your lineup just about every single day. I think he was 4th in the American League in on-base percentage just recently. It might even be better than that. I know he was on base 3 or 4 times last night, and he gets that platoon advantage against lefties who he hits better anyway. I love Bogarts today. Pedroia is back in there hitting 3rd. Johnny Gomes, another guy I really, really like in the 5 spot. And then actually, this is going to sound kind of gross, but David Ross, a guy who is better against left-handed guys. If you're looking to try to pay up for pitchers today, because there is Darvish and Sale and Greinke and Scherzer and Samardzija and Lester in this game, and Hamels, Sonny Gray, all those names. If you're looking to get 2 of those guys on a 2-pitcher site, like maybe DraftKings, you're going to have to punt positions. And, catcher is typically a position that we're going to punt, and especially on a Sunday where, you got your backup catchers playing on a day game after a night game. This is the type of matchup where I think you get real sneaky cute with a guy like David Ross. Hitting 7, he's a veteran guy. He's been around the league. I don't know what his numbers are against Bedard. I don't care what they are. I know he's better against left-handed guys. He's got a couple homers against lefties this season. He gets the advantage, playing at Fenway Park, playing at home, and hopefully I'm expecting guys to be on base in front of him. So that's a guy that I think could be a sneaky option to kind of plug into your lineups at the catcher position. On the other end of this thing, I actually really like John Lester. Ruby De La Rosa was fantastic last night. That kid has phenomenal stuff, absolutely phenomenal stuff. Running it up to around 99, pulling the string on an 87-mile-an-hour changeup. His breaking stuff was real good. Just had a ton of control all night long, and the Rays have just been atrocious this season. Their lineup today, Will Myers went to the DL. That's a big blow to them. Zobrist, Escobar, Longoria. Jerry Sands is hitting 4 and DHing against Leicester. Sean Rodriguez, who hits lefties well. Desmond Jennings, Loney, Molina, and Logan Forsythe. So while they did do a good job of getting the platoon advantage over Leicester, I still like Leicester. A big strikeout guy. Doesn't hit my top 5 today, but a guy that kind of fills in there. A definite GPP option with a ton of strikeouts in his left arm there. I don't think you really have to think about this one too much. I think the Red Sox are the team to definitely target in this matchup. I think that'll be a common target. I think Gomes and Bogarts and Pedroia will be commonly owned. But I think David Ross, Bogarts is my favorite of these plays from this team, but David Ross actually slides in as my second favorite Red Sox today, which is kind of odd to admit to you guys. Excuse me. The next game is at Nationals Park. It's Tanner Roark against Yu Darvish, who's actually scratched from his last start due to neck stiffness, I believe. This is a tough one for me because I really like Darvish. I love what he has and his potential again today. But it's difficult coming off a nagging injury like a neck or a back, especially for a pitcher. That he's going to be kind of rotating all day long. He's going to be, having to use his neck, obviously, and his back and things like that. And they're all connected through the middle of your body there. It's just, it's kind of worrisome for me to try to pay up for him and feel real safe about doing so. So I do like Darvish a whole lot today, but I think you need to kind of keep that in the back of your mind before you kind of go out and put him in every single one of your lineups, because there are other options today. This isn't a day where you really need to stress and stretch to fit a guy like Darvish in every single one of your lineups because there are so many other options. But I think you do need to have exposure to him, definitely in GPPs. And, I mean, he's an obvious cash game play. But also keep in mind, this game is in a National League park. So if there comes a time in this game where it's a close game and the Rangers need to scratch across a run, he's not just going to automatically be in there the next inning because Ron Washington might need to pinch hit for him to get some more runs for the team. The goal obviously is to win the game as a whole for the Rangers. Ron Washington isn't concerned about Darvish's DFS statistics today, although we wish he was. But just a couple notes to keep in mind. On the other end of it, I don't like the Rangers lineup at all. They didn't do a good job of getting any lefties in there. Only 2 guys who are left-handed who can swing from the left side today against Roark. That's Leonis Martin hitting 6 and Luis Sardinas hitting 8. Man, there's just not a whole lot here for me. I always like Beltre, but I think there are better third base options today, especially like guys like Juan Francisco, who are even going to be cheaper. And Rios is actually not a bad play. I like that he can swipe a bag as well as kind of bring the power potential. Just not a whole lot here for me. I think the play in this game is Yu Darvish. I wish the Rangers maybe would have done something to maybe try to get Moreland in there, despite how bad he's been. And even maybe Rougned Odor, real cheap, who's been actually really good. 20-year-old guy in the major leagues, absolutely incredible. I'm like 6 months older than he is, and he's playing in the major leagues, and I'm sitting in a chair on a dirt road in Pennsylvania. So, but anyway, I won't feel too bad about that. I'll just move on. The next game is Wei-Yin Chen and Scott Feldman, a pair of ex-teammates going against each other at Minute Maid Park. The Astros actually didn't come away with a win yesterday. Keuchel was not the Keuchel that he has been this season. Wasn't too bad, just not as good as what he has been. No lineups out for this game. But Chen got banged around pretty good last start against the Brewers. I know that was a common sack because the Brewers do hit lefties well. I'm not sure kind of where to lead you here with any Astros bats. Altuve definitely he's always in play for me right now. The way he's getting on base, the way he's stealing bases, and the way he's actually scoring some runs, he's kind of always in play for me. Springer has had a couple days now where he actually hasn't homered, so that's another thing I guess you can kind of keep in the back of your mind. But he's been fantastic. I like him there. You got Fowler. I really like Dominguez. Has a lot of power. Had a good day yesterday. Stayed on some balls. Had a really nice approach at the plate. And actually, yesterday, scariest thing. It's one of the scarier moments of my DFS career. Matt Dominguez came up in the 9th inning against Zach Britton. And I had split a $215 game with my brother, and we had a $400 at bat in the hands of Matt Dominguez, praying that he didn't record more than 7 draft day points. He put a ball in the gap. Uh, and Adam Jones kind of ranged over, bobbled it, but Dominguez stayed at first and was eventually erased on a double play ball. So we held on, so that was big. But a sick sweat to come down to Matt Dominguez. It's kind of unfair. On the other end of this thing, I don't really like Feldman. I'm glad the Cubs were able to deal him last year at the deadline and get some prospects in return. Jake Arrieta being the top piece in that. I do like Crush Davis. Outside of that, man, it's tough for me to get really on board with too many Orioles. Maybe if Clevenger's in there, maybe a Ryan Flaherty type plug-and-play type matchup. I don't use Markakis. If you want to use Markakis, go ahead. He's going to have the platoon advantage. He's pretty solid GP or a pretty solid cash game play. I just don't like using him because he's gross and never homers. So he's kind of on my blacklist, guys that I never, ever, 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 ever consider. So that's my take on that. I don't know if there's any other games and any other guys in this lineup that you guys are thinking about. Go ahead and let me know, and maybe I can help you out with some of those thoughts. The lineups actually aren't out yet. I think maybe you'll see. I think you'll see Castro sit for the Astros today. It's a common play. I think you'll probably see Corcoran catching today. You'll see a guy like Chris Carter who has a lot of power there. So I think the Astros will be a sneaky type stack option. But I really won't be on too many of them today. The next game's a little bit closer to my heart. Cubs and Brewers. Saw the Cubs blow out Willie Peralta yesterday, who actually didn't pitch too bad. Made two bad pitches to Anthony Rizzo, who he absolutely crushed them. And then unfortunately gave up two of his runners that were inherited by Zach Duke. He allowed to score. They brought in Zach Duke to face two lefties. He gave up 2 hits and just was not good. Anyway, Kyle Loesch always gives the Cubs trouble. I won't recommend him today because I think his chances of getting a win are actually kind of small because Samardzija is on the mound for the Cubs. And I just, the strikeouts aren't there when I have guys like Darvish and Greinke on the docket that I think are definitely in line for a better strikeout day. So that's, that I'll be off Loesch, but I don't think he's a bad player. In fact, I think he's a really good two-pitcher site second option, a guy like Kyle Loesch. So there's that. Samardzija has obviously been awesome. The Brewers are a team that we've targeted with right-handed pitchers in the past. They are better at Miller Park. It is a good hitting environment. But I won't be kind of all in on the Brewers, or I won't probably have a single Brewer in my lineup just because I am a Cubs homer too. I don't want really any hitters in this game at all. I guess maybe if you're looking to plug in an option in a good hitter's park, Scooter Gennett's hitting 6 for the Brewers against Samardzija. I don't know why you would do that, but if you're really struggling to find some value. And Rizzo against Loesch, 2 homers yesterday, had a day off to kind of regather his thoughts. It was really nice for him. The guy there in the 3-hole who obviously has a ton of power and a ton of upside. And hopefully the Cubs can come away with another W. I know we're the worst record in the major leagues, but we got guys on the way, man. I could do a whole show talking about Baez, Bryant, Alcantara, Almora, all those guys. But I will wait. I know there are a few top prospects, or at least one top prospect's name that I need to get to today, who is up in the big leagues. I know Matt Bell will. Actually, Matt Bell said if I don't say his name, he'll never listen to me again. I already had planned to talk about him. We'll get to him when we get to him. But anyway, not any hitters really in this game for me. The pitchers I think are both in play. I think it's going to be tough to pay up for Samardzija and use him. GPP definitely, that's okay. Loesch I feel like is an okay cash game type number 2 pitcher on 2-pitcher sites. The next one is a really interesting game for me, a game that I'm actually targeting quite heavily, kind of on both sides of it. Chris Sale, obviously in play against the Padres. Probably, maybe your number 1, number 2 pitcher today. He was in a rain-shortened game last time out. He's only a couple starts off the DL, so that's kind of worrisome. But he's absolutely fantastic. Incredible upside with strikeouts. Absolutely so dominant against lefties, which kind of takes away Seth Smith, the guy who's pretty much been the best Padre this season. So I love Chris Sale today, and I don't like Eric Stoltz at all. Actually, I'll be targeting Eric Stoltz quite heavily, I think. The guys on the White Sox that I'll definitely be looking at to use, Alexi Ramirez for sure, Gordon Beckham, and Tyler Flowers. Those 3 guys. Flowers is another name at that catcher position that, you're going to have to probably punt for it today. But a lot of power against lefties. He's been real good against lefties this season, a couple homers against them. And, when you get to play at UF Cellular, balls fly out of there quite quite easily. So I really like all three of those guys today. All three of them will definitely be on my radar and definitely in some of my lineups, and I feel like they should be the same for you guys. The lineups actually aren't out yet, so make sure they are in the lineup. But if those guys are confirmed, I think you need to kind of sprinkle them throughout your DFS lineups. And actually, I think a White Sox stack against Stoltz is probably not out of the question today. The next one here, guys, is a game that Bell will like me to talk about. Tim Hudson and Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn complete game shutout against the Yankees last start at home. I know he's much better at home, has been throughout his career. I guess I could get on board as a GPP option against the Giants, but he won't be in any of my cash games. He's a really difficult guy to roster and kind of watch pitch. He's so frustrating. Tim Hudson, actually, the Giants lineup isn't out yet, but Tim Hudson is the probable starter there. The guy that everybody wants me to mention, I guess, is Oscar Taveras, who's been a top prospect in baseball for a couple of years now. I think he's fourth in Keith Law's top 100. Came up yesterday, lined out in his first bat, hit a home run in his second, which ended up being the game-winning homer for the Cardinals there. Hitting 5 today behind Alan Craig. I don't know where he's going to be priced at on the sites. I know actually he wasn't even in some player pools yesterday. Hopefully he is by now, and if not today, hopefully definitely by tomorrow. I think Hudson might give him a little bit of trouble because Hudson is one of those veteran guys, kind of crafty pitcher who's going to go out and pitch. He's not going to dominate you with velocity or anything like that, but he's going to go out, he's going to pitch, he's going to work backwards, he's going to do things in his favor because that's the type of pitcher he is. So with that being said, that kind of worries me on Taveras a little bit, but if you can find him at the minimum, I don't think it's really that bad of a play to use him. This is obviously, he's one of baseball's budding stars, one of the younger guys who's going to be, unfortunately, a thorn in probably the Cubs side for a long time here. A guy that you should get familiar with because you're going to need to know this name. Oscar Taveras hitting 5th, playing right field for the Cardinals today against Tim Hudson. I'm not sure what the Giants are going to be doing with their lineup. I don't really want any of them anyway against Lance Lynn. It's not the fact that it's Lance Lynn throwing. It's the fact that I just really don't like the Giants lineup as a whole. Pablo Sandoval would be just about the only name here. I'm not sure what's going on with Posey. If Hector Sanchez is in there and you want a punt catcher, he's a switch hitter, maybe. I gave you 2 much better options, though. I guess that's just up to you guys. Other than that, guys, not a whole lot here. I mentioned Taveras. I really like Colton Wong hitting 2 at the top of that Cardinals order. I like what he brings to the table as a catcher, as a catcher. Man, what am I saying here? I like what he brings to the table as a value option at the top of that order. And with a guy like Hector Sanchez in there, maybe you can take advantage of him when he's on the base path. Take advantage of a catcher and run and use his wheels to kind of get you some more fantasy points. But after that, guys, that takes care of the 1 o'clocks and the 2 o'clock games. I've got 4 games on the list, and I know I'm going a little bit faster here than normal. I actually have a place to be here sometime soon, so my apologies on that for shortening up just a bit, but hopefully I'm hitting everything that I definitely made sure I had written down to hit. The next game is the Angels and A's. It's Sonny Gray and Jared Weaver. Kind of it's a tale of 2 tapes here with Sonny Gray being the young righty who's been absolutely fantastic, a dominant arm, and a guy that I think you'll look to see in the bigs here for a while, who's going to be real good. A guy out of Vanderbilt. Just been fantastic all season long. I really like Sonny Gray. I know he's facing a tough Angels lineup. We'll see where Trout is in that. If Trout isn't in the lineup, that makes Sonny Gray even better. But I do like Sonny Gray. He doesn't fit in that top mold with kind of Scherzer, Greinke, Sale, Darvish. But he's a cut below and a sneaky GPP option today. With that being said, with my love for Sonny Gray as a whole, not so much today. I won't be on a whole lot of Angels. I think the lineups aren't out, but maybe if you wanted to get super cute and try to use a guy like Raul Ibanez or Cole Calhoun or maybe even Hank Conger if you're trying to punt catcher, okay, I don't advise it, but if you don't want to use Sonny Gray and if you want to get super contrarian, I guess those are the Angels I might target. On the other end of it, the A's are unreal. Especially, man, every single time they play at home. I know that's not typically a hitter's park, but they put up a ton of runs at the Coliseum. Against Weaver today, who they've seen a lot. He's pitched in the NL West or the AL West for a long time now. He's been good. I don't think you can't really deny what Weaver's done this year. 6-3 with a sub-3 ERA, just below 3 at 2.99. A .88 WHIP in the last 3 weeks for him. Man, he's just been super good. And I know the velocity isn't there, and that's something we typically try to pick on in Major League Baseball. But he's crafty. He's becoming crafty. He's actually pitching, which is, that's how guys kind of get it done. The Greg Maddux, those type guys who where the velocity is gone, they can still succeed by pitching. And I know that sounds silly. Maybe if you're not a big baseball fan, you might not kind of understand the difference between, I guess, pitching and throwing. And some of these younger guys, can kind of get away with the huge velocity. You can make more mistakes with velocity and get away with it. Whereas, Weaver can't really make as many mistakes. He's kind of got to feel his way around the zone. He's got to, take advantage of everything he can, and he's doing that thus far this year. With that being said, the A's are a team that are heavily invested in the platoon advantages. So today you're going to see Jaso. You're going to see Brandon Moss. Those guys, Josh Reddick will be in there. All those guys with the platoon advantage will be slotted in there, and they will definitely try to take advantage of that. I know Coco Crisp, both, and Jed Lowry will be able to swing from the left side. So there's going to be a ton of guys with the platoon advantage against Weaver, a bunch of guys you can consider. And, it's almost getting to the point where if you don't stack A's, it's foolish of you because they always seem to put up a ton of runs. So whereas, Weaver has been good, I'm not going to fault you or say that you're doing something wrong by stacking A's just because of how exceptional they are and what Bob Melvin and Billy Beane are doing with those platoon advantages there. It's absolutely incredible. Kind of disproving a lot of baseball wrong. By putting together a team with not a whole lot of money, taking advantage of like the sabermetric type stuff, the platoon advantage type things, and really succeeding. And that's what they've been doing, and that's what I think they will continue to do for a while now. So I like some of these guys against Weaver, just not all the way on board with using all of them. Let me move on to the next game here. What's next on my list? I lost track of my list. Okay, the Tigers and Mariners at Safeco Field, starting at 4:10 Eastern Time. This is another one of those games where we're not going to see the lineups for a while now. It's going to be Scherzer, and I saw where it was going to be Elias. I don't know if you guys saw something else. Please let me know. Roneus Elias, who's actually been quite a pleasant surprise. I know like the 4 ERA doesn't really scream anything too great, but he's been a pretty good arm in a rotation that's kind of been hurting. Paxton's not there. Taijuan Walker isn't there right now. Those are guys that we thought we could probably fill into that rotation that haven't been there. So Elias has filled in quite admirably, I would say. The 4.02 ERA isn't good, but the strikeouts have been pretty good. The hard part about this is that, he's facing a Tigers lineup that obviously is one of the best lineups in baseball. Miggy, Ian Kinsler, Thiemark can swing around, Torrey Hunter, Austin Jackson, a bunch of those guys that are going to have the platoon advantage. Obviously, Kinsler, Miggy, Thiemark, my favorite plays. But I don't think it's bad to maybe take a little punt with like a Torrey Hunter or an Austin Jackson or somebody like that. So I'm not on Elias in the least today. But Max Scherzer, you definitely have to be on. You definitely have to give him a chance against that Seattle lineup at Safeco Field, another pitcher's park. Scherzer's just he's really good. AL Cy Young Award winner. Ton of strikeout potential every single day. I still don't think he fits that top number one today. I think you have to give that to Sale or Greinke, but really close, a 1B, a 1C today, Scherzer. He has not been too good recently. In his last 2, 7 earned and 5 earned on the road against Oakland and Cleveland. This is a lineup today where I think he should be fine, kind of coming back, maybe picking up things a little bit more today. The strikeouts have also been down in his last 2, but I think he might pick that back up today. Definitely a GPP option. I'm okay with him in cash games. Not my favorite option if you're going to pay up, but a guy that I think he'll be owned quite a bit today. With that being said, no Mariners for me. If you don't like Scherzer and you want to be super contrarian, make sure Cano's in the lineup. That would be just about the only guy for me. Other than that, no thanks on any of those Mariners guys. I think that would be foolish trying to play a bunch of those guys against Max Scherzer, who's been awesome. In the past few years. 2 more games to get to, guys. Sorry, I know I am chugging along a little bit here. The Reds and the Diamondbacks. Man, the Reds lineup is just absolutely so bad. Cueto was really good last night. We kind of expected that, but the Reds lineup is just looking at it kind of gives me the chills. Alfredo Simon today against Arizona. Wade Miley for Arizona against Cincinnati. Miley was pretty good last start against the Padres. A lot of strikeouts. I know he did give up around 3 earned, but he had a ton of Ks and pitched fairly well. I guess in terms of fantasy points. I'm not really off of Wade Miley today. He just, there's so many other options that it doesn't make sense for me to use him. But I don't think the Reds really hit him around too much. The guys I would think about are Mesoraco for sure. If he's in there, day game after night game, be sure about that. Mesoraco if he's in there. Todd Frazier if he's in there. I don't like Brandon Phillips, but, I can't really argue with using a guy with a platoon advantage in the 3 spot, especially at a position like second base. So those 3 would be my favorite 3 guys from the Reds. I think you'll see Ryan Ludwig in there for me, but I guess if you're going with some of those guys, it would make sense to kind of tap in that lineup. On the other end of it, against Simon, I'm not on a whole lot of guys. Montero, Parra for me. Goldschmidt's always in play. Outside of that, no thanks. This is a game that, I know this is a hitter's park. It's very spacious. You get balls in the gaps. You can kind of run forever. And I know the pitchers aren't really anything great, but the lineups aren't good either. So I'm not on a whole lot of guys from these games. Just about the guys I mentioned. I really like what Gerardo Parra is doing. I like when he's up at the top of that order. I think he's a very solid option today against Simon or however you want to say it. And Miguel Montero has been really good this year, too. A guy that I typically didn't really roster a whole lot, but I've used him quite a bit this season. Another guy I think you kind of have to keep on your radar today. So that does it for that game. One last game to get to, then I'll kind of wrap things up for you guys. Is the Pirates and the Dodgers. The Pirates got shellacked yesterday. The Dodgers lineup actually thrived against Brandon Compton. I think they might be able to do the same thing today against Edison Volquez. It's Greinke and Volquez. Greinke, by far, I think, that 1A, 1B type option today against the Buccos. This is the Sunday night baseball game, so some nice exposure for the Pirates bats and the Pirates fan base, but it won't look too pretty, I don't think. So if you're looking for the late sweat, I really like a whole lot of Dodgers against Volquez. D. Gordon at the top of it. Ethier hopefully will be in there. Hanram was unreal yesterday. Adrian Gonzalez. Those guys would be my 4 favorite guys. I can't forget to mention Puig, who's just been exceptional all season long. Sorry about that, forgetting him. Greinke, though, absolutely unreal matchup tonight against the Buccos, who just are not anything to be worried about. And even the good guys in this lineup that are going to have the platoon advantage, the Ike Davis, the Pedro Alvarez, those guys strike out a whole lot. And you put a guy on the bump with Zach Greinke's stuff, you can see a whole lot of strikeouts from the Buccos today. I really, really like Greinke a whole lot. I'm not sure how to express that to you without sounding a little fruity. But I really love Greinke today against the Buccos. Otherwise, don't get cute and use Volquez. I think the Dodgers lineup is going to be real solid today against him. I think you'll see the regular guys in there. With this being Sunday Night Baseball, they got the whole night to rest. You'll see all the normal guys in there. No Bucks for me. No offensively. No, not using any Bucks. I really like Greinke. I think you should be on some Dodgers hitters. Other than that, that kind of wraps up this game for me. That wraps up all the games, guys. I know, like I said, this is about 15 minutes faster than I normally do it, but unfortunately, I do have a place to be now that I'm back home. If you guys do have any questions, I'm still going to be playing today. Hit me up on Twitter at lhitch09. And definitely check out. There's lots of other resources today. The Lou Dogs forum. Check out the DFS thread. I'm sure there's great stuff going on in there. You can hit up Matt Bell or Chris K or Brandon at Furious. All those other guys on air with us throughout the week. Hit them up on Twitter for questions. Definitely, check out Fantasy Insiders. Check out Roto Hobos, Project Roto. All that stuff, guys, is great content readily available for you guys. Comp Chomp, one of our sponsors. Tons of content readily available for you guys to use. And I do want to mention before I go is We've gotten a lot of new sponsors kind of on board here recently. Baller and Sports Trade X just ran that $1 million maker. FanX is doing a huge thing in June. Where if you guys didn't see that, get to the forums, check it out. Tons of promotions. Take advantage of them because they're not always going to be around. And we want these guys to support the community as long as they can. And if we don't support them in return, they won't be offering us the great stuff that they do on a daily basis. So take advantage of those things, guys. But other than that, I'm not sure who's on the show tonight. Maybe it'll be me. Maybe it's Chris, Matt. I'm not sure. There will be a show at 8:30 tonight, as normal. I hope to see you guys there. If you guys are playing today, good luck. If not, have a good day off, and we will see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully everything went well back home here, and take care. Good luck today, guys.